Hi guys. So far on this topic of trigonometry, we've done using sine to find a side, using cos to find a side, and using tan to find a side. And we did them all in separate parts. Now I want to look at how you make the decision on which to use. So let's just draw up an example. So let's call that 28 degrees. This is 5 centimetres, and I want you to work out what that side is. Right, first of all, what we need to do is we need to label the sides. So I'm looking here and I've got this one's on the opposite side of the triangle, so that's the opposite, and this one doesn't touch the right angle and is the longest side, so that's the hypotenuse. Now if I consider SOHCAHTOA, and there's lots of ways to remember that. When I was at school I learned some of his chickens are happy that others aren't. Other people say silly old horses carry a heavy ton of apples. But essentially from what we're doing is we don't need to consider this first letter at the beginning. So when I'm looking up here, I've got an H and an O. To me, that makes it very clearly that we're going to use this ratio. And it is a ratio because it's one side divided by the other. So I'm going to start by drawing my algebra triangle for SO. The middle letter is always the one at the top. I'm finding the hypotenuse. So what I'm going to say is that x, what I'm finding, is equal to the opposite divided by sine. So it's 5 divided by sine 28. And we're remembering that sine is always attached to that angle, always. It's not anything on its own ever. So on my calculator, 5 divided by sine 28, close the brackets, equals 10.65, so 10.7 centimetres. The three significant figures, we'd always write that down. Right, so that's my thought process. We'll just have a look at one more. Let's do one going the other way. So, have to label our sides up, and remember it's always in comparison to this side. Now I know that there's no hypotenuse involved in this angle, in this question, no hypotenuse. Now on the opposite side of the triangle to the angle that we're dealing with is 19, so that's the opposite. And the one that's next to 32 degrees, next to the angle that isn't the hypotenuse, is called the adjacent. So I've got O and A involved, so SOHCAHTOA. I'm ignoring the first letter, and then I can see I've got an O and an A. The H isn't involved at all, so it's this one I'm going to use. I'm going to draw my algebra triangle with the middle letter on the top. Question is find the adjacent, so I'm going to cover over the adjacent. So I've now got the x is equal to the opposite, which is 19, and I'm going to divide by t for tan, so that's tan, and remembering that it is always attached to the angle once again. So 19 divided by tan 32 is 30.4. In this case, meters to 3 significant figures. So, hopefully I haven't misled you a little bit too much by doing 2 that are divide. You know how to use this algebra triangle by now. My thoughts for this lesson were to make you decide which of sine, cos or tan to use based on looking at the labelled triangle and looking at SOHCAHTOA. Okay? Thank you.